So I'm getting a little tour of Microsoft today, and this is a lot of fun. Who are you?
I'm Brian Hall. I'm the general manager of the Windows Live business. Welcome to beautiful Red West campus.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful campus out here. But let's get to the point. You're tasked with competing with Google and Facebook and Yahoo. I mean, is that your job?
No. My job is to provide the best communication sharing service for customers and to make a good business out of it. And in so doing, we compete with Google and Yahoo and Facebook and a number of others. Okay. But the job is provide the best experience and make some money off of it.
And so, tell me what your job is. What products do you manage or help run?
I work on the Windows Live business, which is communication and sharing. We really have two aspects of it today. There are a set of online web-based services. Big ones are Hotmail and what we've called Windows Live Spaces. Yep. We also have, and then there's Windows Live Messenger, which is our instant messaging application. We also last year rolled out for the first time a killer app for Windows for communication and sharing that takes a set of rich client apps, including Windows Live Writer for blogging, Windows Live Mail as a mail client, Windows Live Photo Gallery, Windows Live Family Safety for protecting kids online, puts it all into one suite that extends the Windows experience effectively.
Yeah. Give me some sense of the scale that Microsoft is bringing to this. How many users are on Hotmail, for instance?
On Hotmail, we have more than 320 million users worldwide. It's very geographically diverse. In the U.S., we have a pretty big user base, but the vast majority of our customers are outside of the U.S. In the case of Messenger, we have over 320 million Messenger users as well.
And compare that to Facebook has less than 100 million
Facebook's
people.
under 100 million.
And so why don't you guys get the hype that Facebook does? Right?
We do in some countries. Here in the United States, we're a number 3 player, effectively, in the broad communications and sharing category. Amazingly enough, AOL's still very strong, given their legacy and their user base. Yahoo's very strong. We come in behind those two from a total user base perspective. But outside the country, we do very, very well. And the other thing is, email and IM, they're not particularly new. There's a lot more we can do with them still, and we're pushing, but they are the core of how most people communicate online. But the new stuff tends to be sexier and more press-worthy in a lot of cases.
No, that's true, and Microsoft tried to buy Yahoo today. In fact, on the way over here to talk to you, Yahoo announced that the Microsoft deal is off. Were you involved with trying to get Yahoo to be part of Microsoft?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. I bet you were more than somewhat, probably. But so, give us the postmortem on that. What was it that Microsoft wanted Yahoo for? Because we've never heard Microsoft really articulate why they wanted it, I think.
We have a big challenge in being leaders in the online space, both for customers and for advertisers. Yahoo would have been a leg up in that, for sure. And we made a compelling offer. Stars didn't align. We moved on. And apparently, you told me now we've really moved on.
Yeah, well, Yahoo said
they've moved on too. So now it's a quorum.
So how are you going to, clearly, when I ask normal people on the street, not the Silicon Valley geeks, and I ask them, you know, what services they use, they understand what Google is. Google to them is search, right? They understand a little bit about what Yahoo is. That's an internet thing that I used to use, and probably use Yahoo Mail or Yahoo IM, and they go to the portal or Yahoo Finance maybe, and then I ask them, well, what about Live? What about Windows Live? And they give me blank stares because they don't have a good brand idea of what Windows Live is. So what is Windows Live, and how is that going to change now that you're moving on and doing something else? But how are you going to get that brand position in people's heads?
Well, it starts, I think it's worth looking at how where Windows Live came from. Yeah. And today, for most people, Windows Live is Hotmail and Messenger. Yeah. They could even be a Hotmail or a Messenger user and not really associate it with Windows Live yet. Yeah. And I think we certainly could do more, and we will do more, and we are doing more to make Windows Live much more clear as a communication sharing service to keep your life in sync. But we have a legacy that we're building on, and it takes time. The key, though, is it has to feel integrated. Because if you look at what we're doing, we're taking what formerly were quite siloed applications, Hotmail, Messenger, Spaces. They all had different contact lists, for God's sake. So they were quite siloed. And what we're working on is how do we create the best integrated suite of communication tools. And I think once people see that, once people experience it, then you can really change perception. But a big marketing campaign and hollow statements certainly don't do it. And so we have to synchronize those two up really, really well. But I think we have a good understanding. We've got some weight to carry on the brand side and need to go do a great job of landing that.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit about social networking, right? Because email is a social network, right? I have a list of contacts that I send stuff to, right? And Facebook clearly has brand recognition in that world, but Google's coming out with a componentized social network called Friend Connect. What's Microsoft going to do there? Because it seems like to integrate these three things together, you need a social networking component that integrates them together. Is Microsoft going to come out with a social networking service that I can put on my blog or you can put into instant messaging services or whatnot?
We're going to do more to help people present themselves online, keep in touch with what their friends are doing, share things really, really well, and keep track of the things and the people that they care about in a simple way. If you want to call that a social network, you can. But like you mentioned, a social network, I guess at its heart, is a way people socialize online. And IM and email are certainly within that category. And so we don't think of it as something that's fundamentally different from what we're doing. We do see, hey, Facebook, MySpace, Friend Connect, Friend Feed, they're interesting scenarios that it unlocks or activities that people can do. And we're working hard to make sure that we build those into the solution we provide. But ultimately, the vast majority of people that are out there online that see it as a tool to make their life better, it isn't their passion. You have to make things in a way that they discover them and can easily use them. I think a good example is calendaring. Calendaring still today is not a mainstream thing that people are using online. There are people that have their calendars set up, but it's not a fundamental way people live and manage their lives today. If you rewind 15 years, it was the same way in the enterprise or in businesses 15 years ago. There were a bunch of calendaring apps, and you keep Daytimer on your PC and those kinds of things. It wasn't until it really got integrated into the way that people work that it became something that was mainstream. So with Outlook, for instance, with Exchange on the back end having a group calendaring and calendar lookup, and it was then that it became something that really worked well. And that was a back-end technology that connected to a network of people, employees, and it was a front-end technology with Outlook that made it just part of the way that you did your communication. And there are a lot of opportunities. Calendaring is just one example. There are a lot of things that haven't gotten to mainstream that if you build it in right into the way that people already interact and know how to interact, you can make a big difference.
Calendaring is really evolving in the consumer space, right? I'm seeing Facebook and upcoming.org, which is Yahoo's calendaring events planning system, really taking off. I'm getting hundreds of people joining that every month now, which doesn't sound like a big number, but if hundreds of people are joining my account, it's spreading pretty quickly. And people are getting used to the idea of, oh, I can see all these events that my friends are going to, therefore I can sign up for the coolest ones, right? Are you guys going to do something like that? Are you going to get into that world as well?
We have something we released in production last November called Windows Live Events. And you can set up an event, invite people to it, they can comment, and then afterwards you can share photos. And so you share photos, I share photos, it becomes part of the event, and then stays in your experience over time. That was our first version of it. When it's integrated into how people manage their lives, it becomes a lot more valuable. Today it's a great feature of Windows Live, but about that. We're just updating our Windows Live Calendar beta, has iCal support, so you can subscribe to different calendars. We're updating the Microsoft Outlook connector, which makes it so that you can also have your personal calendar published into Outlook. So for me here at work, I have my Exchange calendar, which is published, that is all my work stuff, and then my personal calendar on Windows Live, and then I have one view of both of them, even though they're in separate systems, and I think of them as different calendars. I still have one experience to pull them together. So a lot of this is, I think, less about the technology. Calendaring isn't the most magical new technology. It's been around for a while. It's how do you make it accessible, useful, and bring in a group of people? Because that was that was what really happened in the business case. It was when people could invite you to meetings based on your free busy, that it made it really important for you to also put the things that may not be with other people onto your calendar.
Yeah. What are you guys doing for mobile? Clearly, you know, if there's a 16-year-old kid in India, his first experience with the internet is probably going to be with a mobile phone, not with a computer. And I certainly am seeing my usage changing based on who has really great mobile experiences, because we're working so much more with our mobile phones.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you're thinking of in terms of the mobile landscape, and certainly as it leads into advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, as you walk around, your needs are different than if you sit at a desk all day long.
We think of mobile as a core part of what we have to deliver with Windows Live. Not a separate application or a separate service, it's part of Windows Live. Windows Live better work great on the web through just a browser, better work great on a PC, and it better work great on a mobile phone. Each of them plays a slightly different role. In a lot of cases, web may be where most people interact today. PC may be where you're editing photos, posting photos, generally on your home PC that you have the most personalized environment, and then your phone is what's with you at all times.
Yeah.
We today have kind of 3 tiers of mobile. We have all of our services we're making available on WAP. So you can just go to mobile.live.com in order to get to any of your services. That hasn't historically been the case, and we're fully committed to it. Everyone should know that if you're a Windows Live user, you can use it on your mobile phone regardless of who your carrier is through WAP. We then have a lot of people, partly because of email and IM, which really are the foundation of our user base and our interaction model. IM on a mobile phone is only really valuable and particularly useful with a rich client.
Yeah.
Because you want to be logged in all the time, and the thought of navigating to a page to see who's online is a little bit odd, since it's generally an interrupt.
And probably a device with a keyboard.
Yeah,
right?
a device with a keyboard as well. Or I'm always shocked how well people can T9. But so we have mobile clients that we have a platform where we have about 80 third-party ISVs that build Messenger and mail clients for all sorts of handsets and all sorts of gateway configurations. And then we build Windows Live for mobile we first party build clients for Windows Mobile and for Nokia Series 40 and 60 today. And what that allows us to do is, for instance, on my Windows Mobile phone, I can get a new one, I put my Exchange credentials in, and all of my work email, work calendar, work contacts come down. Then I put my Windows Live credentials in, all of my personal stuff comes down. I have one contact list in which I can tell when people are online right within the contact list. I have all of my email being pushed to my phone, so I'm always up to date both with my Exchange, my work email and my Hotmail. And there are things like in Messenger, because you have this phone that's made for voice, I can do voice clips. So if someone IMs me, I just hit a button, talk to them, hit the button again, and it automatically plays on their PC.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And so there are things where we're taking advantage of the unique phone capabilities, but we think of it as just one instantiation of Windows Live, not something that's fundamentally different.
Yeah. Blogging seems like it's been around for 10 years. I think Dave Weiner's been doing it for more than 10 years, but most people discovered it 3 or 4 years ago. And now it seems like the attention is moving on to social networking or to different kinds of blogging, like the Twitterers or the friend feeds or whatnot. What do you see happening? And certainly with Live Space, my wife is on Live Spaces, so what are you expecting to see it evolve there?
I think it'll become more of a feature of how you communicate and share than an end in and of itself. That isn't to say that there aren't always going to be designated blogging environments that are really optimized for particular blogging types. But if you look at, for something to go mainstream, it generally needs to become part of the flow, like I said earlier, of how people interact. And so the scenario, for instance, of where I can just publish thoughts on something in the same way that I IM or email, it starts drawing people more and more into the blogging category, even though they're using it in a different way than journalistic style blogging has historically done. So we see it as being something that is a lot about making it more accessible. First, through that, build it into the system. Make it so that it's just a feature that everyone can use, and when I want to keep people in touch with me, I know that this is one of the tools that I can use. But secondly, we also think it's really important to make it less specialized. And so with something like Windows Live Writer, which is a downloadable app for blogging, works with almost all blogging services, or any that support really simple discovery. We now have complete WYSIWYG blog. We just released an update.
Is that Windows and Mac or just Windows?
It's just Windows today.
Yeah.
You can insert photos, insert videos.
It's really nice.
It's a great app, and partly what we're doing there is kind of like what we did with Front Page back in 97, 98 timeframe. Make it so that publishing on the web is accessible. You can see what you're doing. You type just like you normally type, and then through plugins make it really simple. So like now you can create auto tags. So anytime I write Robert Scoble in my blog, it will automatically link to Scobleizer. Anytime I say Barty, my son, it'll link to a set of photos of Barty. All of that is just making it so that it's simple, simple, simple. And once you do that, that's how you get to critical mass.
Yeah.
It's building it into how people already do things and making an extension.
Clearly, some of your job is figuring out the advertising puzzle. What are you going to do there to change the game for advertisers? Because clearly that's Google has certainly taken a lot of the market momentum, and everybody's keyed in on, oh, they're making a lot of money on text ads. How are you going to change that puzzle and get people to pay attention to Microsoft on advertising?
It's a fun space. I've been at Microsoft now for 11 years. And the advertising space is new to me in the last year and a half while I've been in this role. And it's an area where we're kind of making two different bets, because we're both an advertising platform and a sales force, a lot of which came through our acquisition of Aquaniv. But then we're also a publisher in the sense that we have high scale services that have a lot of interaction with customers. In the case of the platform, we announced about a month ago something called engagement mapping.
Yeah.
And essentially what happens with search today is I may have seen some display ads, I may have read some reviews, and I know exactly what I want to get. I search for it, and then I click on a paid search link, and all of the credit for that sale effectively goes to the search advertising platform.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is there are things that have contributed all along to ultimately what I did. And so being able to track what was the impact of display ads, what was the impact of other aspects of my marketing campaign, so that there's more of an opportunity to attribute the value and the customer acquisition or the transaction to the other units. And so we think a lot of it is helping people realize more that display can drive action, and it shouldn't just be measured by the click at the time in order to do the transaction. So that's at the platform level, and we're doing a lot of good work there. In the case of Windows Live, we have in the whole category of communication and sharing, that nut hasn't been cracked still.
Yeah.
It's like in our case, in Hotmail and Messenger, we have, depending on how you measure it, on the order of 10% of all internet minutes.
Wow.
Between Hotmail and Messenger. So 10% of all time spent online is in Hotmail and Messenger.
Yeah.
But you don't see 10% of all online ad revenue going into Hotmail and Messenger, unfortunately. We're working on that.
Yeah.
But
well, because advertisers, I think what's changing now, you know, the old advertising world was 3 channels of TV, right, in the 1970s, and everybody would watch that, and you would have to pay a lot of money and hit the entire audience with a message, even though you were only aiming at, you know, 1% of that audience, you know, the people who are going to buy cars this month, right? Today, with online, I can aim, either I can aim at people who are taking a specific action through Google-style advertising or search advertising, or I can hit a very specific demographic. I mean, that's why I think Facebook is so interesting, because Facebook knows, you know, I'm a 43-year-old guy who's a liberal Democrat who's, you know, into skiing and into Daft Punk, and I mean, on and on and on. And I can, as an advertiser, I can say I want to reach only 29-year-old females who are conservative Republicans, because I think that's going to be more interesting to my business, who are into this and this and this and this and this. And you can drill down to 200 people in the world who have that very specific demographic. That's the first time in history we've been able to really reach that kind of demographic detail, isn't it?
It's a great opportunity. At the same time, it's a combination of the audience. Can you get the people that you want to get to, but also the context. And so in the case of communication and sharing services, a lot of the times I'm there to do something.
Yeah.
The chance that I'm going to click on an ad and go off and do something else, you're now trying to distract me from what I'm trying to do. Now, there are times when it's a natural kickoff point, like portal advertising in particular. You go to a portal when you're trying to see what's going on. And so you don't have a specific task, and an advertisement that's interesting to you is just as good as a piece of content or link. You were trying to figure out what to do, and there's a new car out from Ford. I'm interested in finding out what's going on with Ford. Whereas when I'm reading email from my friends, when I'm checking to see what photos have been posted from my friends, it's a different usage model. And so there's a blend you have to do between audience targeting and ability to get the right people and enough of them, and the context for how they actually interact with the application or the ad. And it's striking the right portfolio mix that's the key in this space. The other thing that I think is important is if you look at communication and sharing apps, let's take Gmail, Apple.Mac service or iLife, Yahoo Mail, and us as 4 examples. In the case of Gmail, they're primarily doing it in order to get more searches and in order to get more contextual information. And contextual ads. In the case of Apple, they're primarily doing it to complete the Mac experience and to drive more Mac purchases.
Yeah.
In the case of Yahoo, the primary purpose is they make money from it, but they also drive people to their portal. And then in the case of us, well, we have all of those that are potential solutions where we can use this asset of engaged people that come back often and think of this as part of their lives in all of those different ways. And so it really becomes a monetization portfolio that's more important than how an ad on a specific page really lands.
Very cool.
Good.
Give me a selection of 5 or 6 things. What is Windows Live? What will I see on the screen when I go to Windows Live?
Let's start with Hotmail.
Okay.
Hotmail is a service that has over 320 million active users, active meaning in the last month they've logged in. It's one of the leading webmail services in the world.
Yeah.
Windows Live is really built on the foundation of Hotmail and Messenger.
Yeah.
And those were things that were MSN branded for a long time. And now we've moved into the Windows Live brand. But it takes delivering an integrated experience and something that's different that gets people to think about things they've been using for, in some cases, 12 years differently. And so that's what we're focused on delivering with Windows Live, an integrated communication and sharing experience.
Yeah.
A couple things that I want to show that we released last fall with the last wave of Windows Live start to give you a picture for how these things come together. So for instance, before Hotmail, Messenger, Spaces were all different destinations, we did some very basic things like, ta-da, a single header. So now if I want to go into Hotmail, it has the same environment as if I want to go into Spaces, starts bringing it through. And so just this basic thing, for instance, increased our traffic and usage of Spaces. And in the end, customers discovering the other things that they can already do with the services they know significantly, very, very significantly. And so I'm in Hotmail right now. This is the standard reading pane for Hotmail. We released a new version last year. Now we have 5 gigabytes of storage. We have rich drag and drop, all the stuff that you'd expect from a great modern email service. So examples of things that we now have with Windows Live. I'm going to open this email from my brother. I went for the first time ever camping with my son this weekend. He's 2.5. And he caught a rainbow trout, or maybe Daddy helped him catch the rainbow trout a little bit. And so here, this was a mail that I sent from Windows Live. I attached these photos, and if you look, it's a small. I can't see the size right now. It's a small email. It's under 40K, and I attached these 2 photos, but I didn't have to do anything special.
The photos are huge, right?
Yeah, these are huge photos. Yeah. But people often the main way people share photos today is through email, and so. But they have worries about clogging up inboxes, clogging up outboxes, sent items, that kind of thing. And so what we did in the last release, we released something called Photo Mail in the desktop app called Windows Live Mail. And this makes it so that when I attach them, I want to see the slideshow, so I want to see them big and nice. it takes you to a website that's integrated with Spaces. And so now I can see the full-size images. So here it goes into slideshow mode and it will sort between the two photos that I was looking at. Or I can view larger size. It'll give me full-size images. I say, wow, that's a great, cute picture of my son in a diaper with a fish. So I'm going to download it, and I can go to the top of the screen and download the picture. All of this making it so that I can see the photos in email, but then if I want to do more with them, from download to anything like that, it's seamlessly integrated into the experience. And it's one of the ways that we get people to start thinking of Hotmail and Messenger, now that we're delivering them as part of an integrated Windows Live, is more than just a webmail service and an instant messaging service. Similarly, you can see things like when I go to, we have this home, first time we've done an integrated home screen. It's pretty basic still, but it pulls together things that today are quite separate. So I have my inbox so I can see the new emails that I've received. I have comments on my space. Apparently I haven't been posting enough, so nobody's even commented. Updates from friends, calendar, which is loading right now. And so it makes it, and I can start an IM with any of the friends that I have on Windows Live. So with what we did last fall, we started bringing the core tenants together and building an integrated communication suite, and you'll see more and more and more of that, so that we take this 320 plus million Hotmail users, 320 plus million Messenger users, people that have grown accustomed to those, and give them more stuff they can do in a seamless way.
Very cool. Anything else that Windows Live means? You know,
communicate and share.
Okay.
Communicate and share.
We've seen the full suite, and next
there's a lot more.
There's a lot more.
There's a lot more. We have little time, so just wanted to show that.
The next
part.
time we're going to see search, and you certainly have a parental guidance feature. What is that called?
We have something called Windows Live Family Safety.
Okay.
And it's a solution to make it so that not only can parents control where their kids go online, which is an important thing, I think even more importantly, who do they communicate with?
Yeah.
And so I can set it up so that I'm in charge of adding friends to Messenger, adding contacts and people that they can email with in Hotmail. And that way I have control and I don't have to worry about someone else starting to communicate with my kids.
Yeah.
That's a very, very important feature for us.
Very cool. Well, thanks for the little demo.
Thank you. Appreciate it.